I'm wondering if you can share, like, given that, like, you know, you are very much in this area, do you have like specific campaigns, or do you have like specific, you know, examples of things that you think really worked well and demonstrated well, like the power of marketing when it is successful?
Yes. So I can talk about a few of them. And actually, so I studied under Professor Mark Ritson, with his mini MBA program. And I want to give a shout out to Mark on that because it's an incredible program. So a lot of what I will talk about are based on the work and study he did of the archive of the FEs. So I can talk about a few kind of recent summaries that he gave about effective marketing campaigns and why they were effective. So let's talk about the Dove campaign for Real Beauty, because that is something that I think a lot of us are familiar with. And so their campaign for Real Beauty is kind of an incredible example of marketing done well. And it happened over a number of years. Around like the early 2000s, they realized the brand was getting old and they had to kind of renovate it for a new generation of customers. And what they did is here's the thing that's interesting, like about really good branding that is sort of relevant and salient, is you want to look back to look forward, I think. And Dove is a very old brand, right? Like, weren't they created in like the late 1800s or early 1900s, right?
No idea. Surprised. I feel like they've been around forever. Yeah.
It's a real like historic, kind of iconic brand. And, but in the 2000s, they realized they had to sort of renovate it and refresh it for the next generation of customers and users. And so historically, Dove's advertising at the time Dove launched was really sort of daring and innovative, because even if you look at the archive of really, really old Dove advertising, they were creatively featuring women in very natural poses. And whereas, you know, in like late 1800s, beauty advertising was like very formal, and, you know, and Dove sort of disrupted that whole convention by presenting women in sort of natural kind of positions, which was unusual at the time. So the creative team that was working on this campaign, they actually leveraged that previous sort of style of advertising, but also it represented sort of something true about the brand, about Dove. That Dove kind of broke conventions of beauty in that way to create the campaign for Real Beauty. And the strategy behind that for the team was, we want to make, and they did diagnosis, right? So they did a lot of research, and the research was depressing because they did a lot of surveys, and they found, you know, only 2% of women considered themselves beautiful. Or like something like 68 to 75%, I think, I can't remember the number, felt worse about themselves after reading a women's magazine. So there was all this like really depressing data about how women viewed themselves as it relates to beauty. And so the strategy, they decided to kind of see that as the opening for Dove. And they decided to develop a marketing strategy around making women feel beautiful every day by you know, broadening this definition of beauty and inspiring them to take care of themselves every day. As a professional, it is an outstanding example of leveraging a two-speed marketing plan, right? Which is based on and none of that this is not my thinking. This is all the wonderful work done by Benet and Fields, who wrote The Long and the Short of it. And Dove implemented a two-speed marketing plan, meaning one is for long-term brand building, and the other part of the budget, so that's part of your budget, and then the other part of the budget is for sales activation, like short-term marketing. So it's long and the short of it. And I bring that up because, Nicole, your example about attention is really important, because the kinds of marketing plans and strategy that have the most positive impact on long-term ROI and profit are marketing plans that have both. They're not just branding, and they're not just sales activation. The best campaign is always both together,
Mm-hmm.
because that over the long term will improve your long-term profitability. And that's ultimately what companies need, right? And that's what marketing can help them do.